Hello everyone and welcome. We're here in Yeshivat Chut Shel Chesed under the guidance of Rabbi Shalom Arush, and today we start a brand new story in our Rabbi Nachman's Stories series. This is the story titled The Cripple. Once upon a time, there was a wise man. Before he died, he summoned his sons and his family and told them that they must water trees. You must also earn a living in other ways, but you must also be very careful to water trees. With that, the wise man died, leaving behind children. Watering trees sounds a little bit interesting, but one might be familiar with the saying from Rabbi Nachman. He says, don't be a dead tree. We have to be alive in our service of Hashem, because without that, we won't have the motivation to continue. If a tree doesn't have its water, it's gonna dry out. Don't be a dry tree, so to speak. He said, Etz Yavesh means a dry tree, because without that, you're just, so to speak, almost like giving up. So he had one son who could not walk. He could stand, but he just could not walk on his own. His brothers would support him, giving him enough to live on and to have something left over. Little by little, the crippled son saved up some of the leftover money until he had a considerable sum. He thought it over and he said, why should I have my brothers supply me of my needs? Is it better that I start some kind of business on my own? So I can't walk, but I have a plan. I would hire a wagon, could represent the body, a secretary, like a servant type of person, which can represent our intellect, our mind, and a driver. Could be the soul, but more of a animalistic soul. And he would travel with them to Leipzig. That was a place where they would have, is a major city in East Germany. They would have a great fair 3 times a year. Jews were permitted to attend this fair, but they could not live there as permanent residences. So he said, even though I can't walk, I'll be able to do some kind of business at least. When his family heard of the plan, they were very pleased. They said, why should we continue to support him? Let him go earn his own living. They lent him even more money. It wasn't what it was supposed to be coming to him. He would have to return them this money, right? So that he would have enough to run a business. So the cripple went through with his idea. He hired a wagon, a secretary, and a driver, and he set out. They came to an inn, and his secretary suggested that they spend the night there. But he didn't want to. They tried to be strong with him, but he was stubborn, and he said, let's continue traveling through the night. Soon, they were lost in a forest. A forest is a place of evil forces, especially at night. And they were attacked by robbers. See, here he was a little bit too stubborn. But we'll see, he will hold on. Sometimes it's good to be stubborn, sometimes it's not good to be stubborn. But if you were stubborn for something, and it brought you into a situation that was not so good for you, hold on to your faith. Don't give up. You'll find something, some hidden treasure. The band of robbers originated during a time of famine, which is a time of constriction. A man had come to the city and announced that whoever wanted food should come with him. So a lot of men went with him. He worked with cunning and dismissed the men that he could not use. To one he said, you can be a craftsman. To the other one he said, you can work in a mill. He thus chose only intelligent youths, bringing them into the woods. He told them his real motives, that they will become thieves. From here people traveled to Leipzig, Breslev, and other places. Merchants go by. We will rob them and amass money. It was these exact robbers who attacked the cripple and his men. Now, the driver and the secretary and the servant were able to flee, but the cripple remained in the wagon. When the robbers came to take the money chest, they asked him, "Why are you sitting there?" He said, "I can't walk." The robbers took the chest and the horses, leaving the cripple on the wagon alone. The secretary and the driver fled to a town, and they decided that since they had taken out loans also from the wealthy landowners, it would be foolish for them to return home, since they would be put in chains. It would be better to remain in a town which no one knows them. Here they would also be able to work as a secretary and a driver, and continue on their merry way. The cripple's son had provisions that he brought with him from home, that he had in the wagon. And as long as he had some dry bread in his wagon, he ate it. Then, when this was used up, he didn't have anything to eat. He thought it over and threw himself down from the wagon, where he would be able to eat grass, different greenery from around. He spent the night alone in the field, and was very frightened. He lost all his strength, until he could not even stand. If you remember, in the beginning he was able to stand. Now he can't even stand. He could only crawl, representing that he's like a baby now. And he's starting his spiritual climb and his spiritual birth. So even though he went through a very traumatizing situation, he's going to continue to fight for life. He's going to crawl. As long as he could reach out and eat whatever he found around him, whatever greenery and veg he was able to find, he got it. Then when everything was done, he would push himself further and eat there. He continued eating whatever was around him for some time. One day, he came across a certain type of greenery that he had never seen before or eaten before. He said that this grass looked appealing. He had eaten all this stuff for so long that he was familiar with the different types and species. But he had never seen something so nice like this. He said, "I'm going to go get it and I'm going to uproot it. I want this whole thing." Under the root, there was a diamond. The diamond was square and each side had a different power. If he would have just given up and said, "Okay, I'm here. This is my end. They stole everything from me. I'm a cripple. Nobody cares about me. They didn't have any mercy on me. They took all my money." He could have just gave up on life. But he continued. He said, "I'm going to crawl and I'm going to push myself and I'm going to learn to adapt with my situation. Okay, so now I'll have to deal with the different greenery and the different veg that I could find in the forest and sustain myself on that. But it's just something for the meanwhile to keep me alive." Till he found something that said, "Hey, this looks very nice." And he picked it up and he found a tool that will help him to get to better places and to even heal him, like we'll see. So stay tuned. It's an interesting story called The Cripple. And may Hashem help us that these stories should do wonders for us, should wake us up from our sleep. We have this time of Elul. They're knocking on our doors, want us to wake up. There's no better way than learning Rabbi Nachman's stories. Thank you for joining us. Have a great week.